Oh boy, here we go. The first ever roster rescue show powered by Dynasty Nerds and the Dynasty Nerds GM. Let me explain real quick what's happening here. If you were part of our beta show yesterday, you have a little bit of an idea. But on this show, you have the opportunity to ask us trade questions, to have your entire roster reviewed, and we have something called a NUKE button. If you say, hey, I don't care what you guys are talking about, the very next thing needs to be my question, you can go ahead and hit that NUKE button. And guess what? Oh, to start the show, we have a NUKE button. Right away, right off the rip, Cody's like, screw whatever your guys' opening segment was. It needs to be taking a look at my team. And by golly, do I respect it. So here we go. This is Cody's team. But before we get into it, I do have to say, Taylor Christensen, Pete, how you guys doing?
Great. Glad to be here. Excited to have our first NUKE. I did not expect that to be what started our show, but excited to get into it. I'm glad that Cody gave us this opportunity, and welcome everyone to the first episode.
What's up, nerd turds?
I did say nerd turds yesterday. Dang it. All right. So very, very first question. Being running back needy, I fully expect to take Ashton Genty at 101 unless I can get an ungodly trade. Interested in possible trade targets / draft strategy. He currently has the 101, 106, 109, and 201. So let's go ahead and get into this team. What are we doing with this team? So, super flex, we have Jordan Love, we have Drake May, and Jacoby Brissett. So, right now, we could see on the Dynasty Nerds page that this is the number one team as far as the dynasty value of this team goes. However, what's the contender value there, Pete? We are down at 8. So little variance here, So let's go back to the main dynasty value here. And this team has Jordan Love, Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, Trey Benson, Jaylen Warren, Marshawn Lloyd, Will Shipley. So not much there at the running back position. However, wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk. So a lot of assets there. We've got Tucker Kraft at tight end. And then we have all of these picks. I'm going to kick it over to my man, Taylor Christensen. Taylor, if this is your roster, what are you doing with it?
Well, first I got to say, bad luck on the running back class last year, Cody. I mean, I can see you took a lot of swings there in the second round, getting guys like Benson, Warren, Lloyd. I think that was the right strategy. But...
Breaking news.
Oh,
Cooper Kupp just got released.
Whoa.
He's officially released. All right.
Anyway, we need a breaking news drop. So, but
I kind of want you to just keep doing that.
Okay.
Well,
you go, Taylor.
What you've got here is Ashton Genty. So we're just going to plug him in. I think you're automatically making that draft pick. You got 106 and 109 and 201. So I think those are great spots for running backs. I don't know about you, Garrett, but I'm willing to use the 106 on Judkins. I'm willing to use the 109 on whichever running back ends up with the best landing spot that we don't currently know about right now. I think you could also go with a Tyler Warren or a Colston Loveland at 109 to kind of solidify that tight end spot. But I think I'm making these picks this year. I'm not using a whole bunch to move around. If there's a running back that just shoots up into the top 7 or 8 and you're big on him, I would send the 109 and the 201 to make sure you secure that. But this year, the 201 is a valuable pick as it stands right now. There's some big names there, especially if Travis Hunter declares as a wide receiver. That would jump him up. If a guy like Matthew Golden gets taken early, then that'll jump him up. So you might be looking at 3 really solid running back options at 6'9" and 201. So I'm not trying to move those picks this year, Garrett. I don't know if that's how you see it or not.
Question. So your third quarterback this is super flex, right? Yeah. Yep. Your third quarterback is Jacoby Brissett, right? Mm-hmm. So if, let's say, Sanders drops to the 106, or like crazy of crazy, Cam Ward drops to the 106, are you targeting him there over like a Judkins, or are you still going Judkins?
Personally, I'm still going with Judkins. I don't think I'm going to go with Sanders. I think that's a little different than what Garrett might say. He's a big quarterback guy. Personally, I think Love and May get you pretty far, and I'm willing to make some moves with this roster. I think we can talk about some potential quarterbacks to try and target to kind of put in there at your third spot, but I don't know if I want to invest more capital at the quarterback position when I have those two young guys who I think are fantasy producers. So not necessarily, but if a guy like Cam Ward falls to 106, I would definitely be looking to trade that pick for someone else's older quarterback and maybe their future first or something like that. If I can get a Dak Prescott and a first for that 106 or something like that, that would be more the move I'm looking to make.
Sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. And first show, it's just, that's how things go. But I don't know. I have no idea what you said. But yes, Cam Ward at 106 is totally in play. I would have no issue with that at all. That being said, this is one of the more we had a lot of rosters yesterday that weren't as straightforward. I think this is one of the most straightforward ones that we've had. You have a really good running back class. Your biggest need is running back. I'm always big on best player available. So whoever the best player on your board is, I'm taking that player, but it lines up really, really nicely with how your needs sit and what the strengths of this class are. So chances are you're going to be able to walk away with some dynamite running backs, even at 201. I was just in our league, our Dynasty Nerds writing staff league. I got Cam Scattaboo at 201. Now, there's varying feelings on Cam Scattaboo, but on the Nerds podcast last night, the one that you'll hear coming out tomorrow, or no, that one came out today. Basically consensus across the board on our staff. He's either running back 5 or 6 across the board for all of us. So he's a guy that we all really like. I think he could end up being really good value. So there's a lot of running backs. That's what you need. I think this is just a perfect scenario for you, Cody. So well done.
So question. How about if you guys are down, I have the handy dandy mock draft tool up.
Okay.
And let's just do let's just see what the first round looks like and what you guys would do.
All right. Yeah, let's do
it. Fire it up.
Okay. Starting off 101. Who are we taking?
Genty.
Yep.
Done and done.
Then let's see who's okay. 106, we got Cam Ward, Warren, Burden, Judkins, and Sanders.
Wow. Okay, so Emeka Buka went at 105. That's probably the biggest surprise of that. Everything else is pretty chalk. I would say Cam Ward.
Okay.
What about you, Taylor?
Well, I get to cheat now and
Taylor
see who fell to us. Yeah. Well, I'm going to take Tyler Warren here. I don't like Caleb Johnson at this spot, and we have the 201 still. So I think I'd rather go with the tight end, even though we have Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgraves coming back. That situation could be a little muddied. So give me the guy who could be a difference maker at the position and who I think probably fell a little bit in this one.
Okay, and let's just see who's at the 201. Who would you take?
All right, well, we know we need running backs here, Garrett.
We do. Yeah, it would be Scattaboo easy for me. I don't know about you. But yeah, I love Scattaboo. I think in retrospect, too, you could also, if you were to take Quinshawn at 6, you could take Jackson Dart here as your third quarterback. I wouldn't be upset with that either.
I mean,
yeah, we'll see.
Sanders dropped to the 11th overall pick, too.
That's where he went in our staff league, too. He might have gone at 10, but he was right there. Without a landing spot, it's hard to know.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. I think that gives him a good vibe. Cody, welcome to the show. First ever NUKE, first ever question. Man, we're starting off hot. We are starting
off hot.
All right, let's get our next question here. This is a trade question from Nicholas, correct?
Yep.
All right, Nicholas. He said, "Hi guys, my league is an 8-man start, or sorry, I think they start 8. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. Oh no, so it's an 8-man league. All right, start 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 4 wide receiver, a tight end, and 3 flex with extra scoring bonuses for rushing and QB. I am in rebuild and have 2 offers right now. Where can I trade away Allen for some youth?" So the actual trade is on this 8-man league, Superflex, Josh Allen and Kenneth Walker, or Rome Odunze, Zay Flowers, a mid-26 first, an early 26 second, and a 27 first. Taylor, I'm going to take this one first because to me, despite it only being an 8-man league, I still think this is not enough to get Josh Allen and Kenneth Walker for me. When you have these lower roster or fewer teams, superstars make a much bigger difference because there's more to go around. And so if you just have a bunch of like solid players, 2 or 3 superstars on somebody else's team are going to wreck you. So I think right now the cost would be much higher in order to get Josh Allen from me on an 8-man league. I get it. You can get more quarterbacks. There's more available. But to me, that only makes the true superstar stand out that much more. What about you, Taylor?
Yeah, 100%. I think Kenneth Walker, depending on what the bonuses and everything shake out to be, could be outscoring Odunze and Flowers on a weekly basis. So for me, unless by rebuilding you mean you're trying to purposely score fewer points this year, I think I would still rather have Kenneth Walker over one of those guys in the same format. So definitely not giving up Josh Allen without an absolute elite asset back. If I'm giving up one of the best players in the entire thing, probably still the 101 or 102 in a 8-man startup. If it's super flex, probably. I'm still needing like a Justin Jefferson, like at the least a Brock Bowers. I got to get one of those other elite guys back. So I'm passing on this. I do like the idea of spreading out getting the 26 first and the 27 first. Like that's the kind of construction I might look for in a rebuild, but not with those other players in it.
All right, let's move on to the next one. I think we have Cody's trade up next. Cody's deal here. Do I have that correct, Pete?
Yep.
All right, nice. Cody, he said he has a contending team. He's giving away Marvin Harrison Jr. and Christian McCaffrey to receive Justin Jefferson. For context, I have Bijan, Brees, Najee, Javante at running back, and only Garrett Wilson, Kupp, Ridley, Amari, and Quentin Johnston at wide receiver. So what are you doing here, Taylor? Are you going with Marvin Harrison and Christian McCaffrey, or are you going with Justin Jefferson?
Well, I know this looks a little harder now that Cooper Kupp was released, although with Devontae Adams coming in, this might be the best thing for his value. We'll see what shakes out. I wouldn't be so surprised if he ended up in Arizona with Marvin Harrison Jr. So with that in mind, I'm probably going to make this trade. And the main reason is because I trust Justin Jefferson with all of my dynasty value. I don't think he's going anywhere for the next 3 to 4 years. Oh, hi, Keith. I would not want to give up the opportunity to get Justin Jefferson. I know you're paying Marvin Harrison and you say you're contending, so giving up Christian McCaffrey feels like a big blow as a contender, but you have Brees, you have Bijan. Those are 2 top guys. Najee just got his contract, so at least for this season, you can use him as a contender. So I'm willing to make this trade just to solidify getting one guy that I fully believe in and I know he will produce for me.
Okay.
And you said that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so really quick, chat. I see that there's 63 of you guys in there. Can we get the like button to more than 10? That would be awesome. Much appreciated. We're about to do a chat Q&A, really fast one. So drop your trade questions in the chat as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. Taylor, you said that with a lot of confidence, and I respect that, and I like that. I don't feel as confident as you do. I go back and forth on this one a lot because as a contender, I worry about, when I look at some of the depth, you would get to a point at running back where one running back getting hurt, all of a sudden you're pretty thin. And that's what makes this hard. I get that you don't have top end receivers, but Marvin Harrison could develop into a top tier receiver. So that's what makes this really tough for me. I get it. You're getting the for sure asset. I don't think I can. I think I still believe in Christian McCaffrey enough that I am gonna stick with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Christian McCaffrey. This is our first disagreement on the show. We will get some counseling afterward. But I think I'm actually sticking with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Christian McCaffrey, but only because that is as a true contender. If I'm in rebuild, like I would go for Justin Jefferson despite him being the older asset because I need to make sure I'm hitting moving forward. But on a contending team, I'm holding out hope still that Christian McCaffrey with that contract and how much they're going to need him this year is going to get a lot of touches. So very, very difficult, but I'm sticking put.
Okay, let's do some check Q&A.
All right.
Okay, so the first one we got is from just Josh. Okay, so what in picks is Jameson Williams worth? Superflex tight end premium.
201.
Okay. Next.
I don't know. You see anything super different, Taylor?
I think that whoever's holding the 201 on draft day probably won't want to sell it for Jameson Williams straight up, just because guys like Matthew Golden and Travis Hunter might be there. So
yeah,
if they get a good landing spot, or maybe Ibuka goes in the late second, so he falls or something. I don't know if you're going to get that done on draft day, but I would take that deal now if you could get it.
Okay, next one is from TikTok. 10-team Dynasty Superflex League. This is from Josh. Mac, not just Josh. 10-team Dynasty Superflex League. Geno Smith plus the 105 for Brock Purdy.
Geno Smith and 105 for Brock Purdy.
Well, according to that mock we just did, you could have Cam Ward at 105.
It's true. Man, I just don't trust Geno. But I love the 105. I'll take Geno on the 105.
Especially if he's like your quarterback 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys interested? Matt asks, are you guys interested in all-in Fields for Superflex? I'm on the fence about him as a rebuilding target for cheap.
I'm in on him as long as you're going in with the expectation that this is a volatile asset. This is a boom bust piece. You could be gaining tons of extra value with him. Although the time to get him was truly in the offseason before he signed. Now he's a little more expensive. So you have to factor that into the equation. But as long as you know that, hey, this could blow up in my face and I have nothing for this. But he's also shown us that he can be a top 8 fantasy football quarterback. So it depends on how many other options you have, how much you're willing to play with fire, I think is what it comes down to. But yes, for me, like he is somebody that I'm interested on the cheap.
Great. Next one is from Keith. And by Keith, I mean Kevin.
Nice.
In a vacuum, which picks would you need to move Garrett Wilson in half-point PPR?
Go ahead, Taylor.
Well, you say picks, so I guess you're assuming that you would need a future first along with something this year. I think I would be happy with it's hard to know right now, but I think you could get away with the 102 and something. If you thought that you could get away with Tet McMillan as being a similar replacement to Garrett Wilson, and you could get the 102 and 201. Or 102 and a future first, maybe a 27 first, something like that. I would maybe be interested in that. But anything shy of the 26 first and the 104, and I'm out. I think 104 is as late as I'm going without, like, if Hampton goes in the first round like we're expecting and I get a 26 first, I might be okay with that. But that's the lowest.
Okay, and last one. Puka or Brian Thomas Jr. in Dynasty?
I'm probably gonna. Oh man! As soon as I felt confident to say one, then I rethought it. Here's my dilemma. I don't want to take too much time on these, but my dilemma is I always have a hard time trusting new coaching staffs without proven commodities at their current roles. So I struggle with that. I do know at the same time. Oh, thank you, Cruisin. Appreciate it. At the same time, I know Devontae Adams is there now. We also don't know where McVay might be in a year or two, where Stafford might be in a year or two, how much that shifts things. So that's what makes all this odd, because none of those situations are solid and certain. I will lean Brian Thomas Jr., but it's very close.
Great. Okay, on to the next. And I'm still keeping track of everyone else's questions in the chat. We'll have another chat Q&A later.
If you're nice, we'll see.
If you're nice, thank you. By the way, we're over 30 likes now.
Look at us.
Huge dubs.
Basically celebrities.
Not look at us, Garrett. Look at them.
Ah.
Yeah, okay. Next one, we have a roster review from Spencer.
All right, Spencer, let's take a look at this sweet-looking roster that is invisible. Now it's visible. All right, we are in
the name of the
anus cup. We got the booty league. All right. So
okay.
right here, taking a look at his squad. We'll start from this part of it. He is currently 4th in Dynasty value. What is his redraft value, Pete?
This guy is for sure a nerd turd.
He is definitely a nerd turd. All right. So he is in 8th in Dynasty value. So 4th in redraft or in Dynasty value and 8th in the redraft value. So we've got Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix. So lots of young quarterbacks here. We've got Chuba Hubbard, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Tyjae Spears, Jalen Wright at running back, Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Jaden Reed, Jamison Williams at wide receiver, and then Sam Laporta and Kincaid at tight end. But here's what we have in the picks department. 101, 102, 108, and 110. Taylor, kick us off. If you're taking a look and you're like, this is my beautiful roster, what are you doing with your picks? What are you doing making trades? What are you thinking with these guys?
This is another one of those rosters where you've managed to line up the picks that you are making this year with the positions of need that you have. I think it's great here. We have 101, we're putting in Genty. 102 for me right now, that's McMillan. You're covering if Waddle starts out slow. You're covering if Reed gets competition there and starts out slow. You're covering if Williams doesn't quite come through for you as a true wide receiver too. I think that really solidifies up that position for you. Then at 108, 110, you're looking at taking best available running back or a tight end. I think, you're close. I see where your dynasty value is at. I see that the league is pretty unbalanced is kind of my assessment here. We've got one team that's about 3 times the value of the lowest team. So in order to get there, you're going to have to get a little bit lucky, I think, when it comes to drafting players. You got to find the next Justin Jefferson with some of these picks to truly balance things out. I'm more likely to make picks on a team like this because you don't have anywhere to move. You already have the 101, 102. You already have an 8 and a 10. So I might split the 10 for a veteran running back and a future first when the time comes to it. If I don't love someone on the board, I can say, give me your 26 first and I guess if there's no competition, we'll say James Conner. You've got Trey Benson, but let's just say James Conner. Someone like that, who you can put in there week 1. You know they're going to get you fantasy points to start the year, and you're getting a future first. That's maybe a draft day move. But overall, Garrett, I feel like we're close. I see that the Dynasty and the Contender don't say that, but we think Love's going to bounce back. We think Herbert's going to bounce back. We got plenty of depth at the quarterback position. Running back, we see Hubbard's going to have a starting role. We'll see what happens with Tracy, but we're adding Genty. We're adding someone maybe at 108. Like, I
Is
think
this a
we're
one
close.
QB?
It
Do
is
we
a
know
1 QB.
One QB. Okay.
Oh,
So that's
we
a
gotta
big part of
shed
this as
some.
well. Yeah,
gotta-
you've got a lot of good young quarterbacks. You might be able to package, or just straight up trade Herbert or Love because you
Yeah.
have an ascending player in Caleb Williams. The only reason I caught that was because of the value on him. It's like, why is that value so low? I was like, oh, it's one quarterback. But I'm totally in line with you. The only difference I would say is potentially at 102 instead of Tet. If there's another running back that goes in the first round, like Hampton, like Henderson, that might be enough to boost them above a Tet McMillan for me. And then I'm looking at Emeka, Buka, Luther Burden, or Golden there later on in the draft to kind of beef up my wide receiver room a little bit. So that's the cool part about this is you do have some options. You can kind of let the draft come to you. I don't think you have to be overly aggressive in trying to make a bunch of trades. Like yesterday, a lot of the teams we were talking about, there were a lot of trades that had to be made. Like, hey, we're switching this guy for this guy and moving up here and doing that. Like these couple of teams we've gotten so far, you guys have done it. And you could tell, like you guys have done a good job at setting yourselves up for success. So now just take it over the finish line, man. Use these picks well. Make sure you're taking best player available, not just who you want, not just who you need, best player available. And you're going to have some pretty good success adding 2 at least really impact running backs and a lot of other good either receivers or probably either 3 running backs and a receiver or 2 running backs and 2 receivers. Most likely, maybe you add another tight end depending on who's there or whatnot. But I think you're in a pretty good spot.
Are you guys down to do another quick mock draft since you have so many picks?
Throw it in there. Why not? Let's show off the GM tool.
Here we go. Okay.
If you guys are not familiar, this is the Dynasty GM on the Dynasty Nerds page. You can go there right now. You can get all of these tools. Just a few bucks a month. It's like $4 or $5 a month. You can get the whole year for like $70. Like it's an amazing deal. Go check it out.
Okay, we're stirring it up. Ashton Genty? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Do we want to make the assumption that there is another first round running back or no? What assumption are we making here, Taylor?
Yeah, I think Hampton goes in the first. So if we want to take him here, that's fine.
Let's add Hampton at 102 then.
Okay.
Ibuka again.
Man, really liking Ibuka.
He's my wide receiver 1.
Oh,
wait. Did a quarterback just go? No. This is a 1 QB.
So.
Okay.
It's a 1 QB, so we're good.
Yeah.
I think this is probably Golden here.
Let's look at his roster again.
Well, we do want to go best available.
But
I
assume not because you mentioned Golden.
But Tyler Warren's going to get like top 15 draft capital the way they're talking. So I'm going to keep hammering him. That's hard for me. Yeah.
You can always make another trade later. If you're really in on Warren, then take Warren and then trade Laporta or keep them both, see who ends up having the most value, trade either one. So, yeah, I'm good with that. We'll go Warren.
Chat, question, really fast. Chat, would you prefer Cam Scatterboo or Matthew Golden in a rookie draft? I'm just curious. But we're taking Warren here?
We're taking Warren.
Okay.
We might get Golden on the next pick.
He's gone. Devastating. That's what happens, though. This is real drafts. This is what real drafts are like.
I mean, it's not a real draft, but
I said this is what real drafts are like.
We'll see what landing spots look like. If that was the true case and we had the draft already, you could go with Golden and then get Loveland or Warren. Like if we saw Loveland got,
you could play the strategy game.
Yeah, you definitely could invert that if we knew where we were going to be. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I've kind of hit on this. It would probably be Cam Scatterboo, but I am higher than consensus on him. Is there somebody else that you would be heavily considering here?
I think Travis Hunter would be on the board. Well, we're gonna know after the draft, so that's the thing.
We'll know after the draft. Yeah, if we're seeing that he's strongly going to be playing receiver, then absolutely it's a slam dunk pick. But until I know, I can't waste a first round pick on a guy that I don't even know is going to play that position.
If he comes out as wide receiver after the draft, he's not going to go 110, is he?
No, he's going to go in the top 3.
Okay. Well, we took Scattaboo at 201 in the other one, and that was a super flex. So this is essentially the same spot. It's like the 201. So we can take Scattaboo again.
Boo it. Scattaboo it.
Okay.
But I do like this for him. Like, I think if we were looking at that roster and you're adding Hampton, Genty, Scattaboo, and Warren with the wide receivers that are already there, I mean, you're ready.
That was
to
his
roll.
strongest position already.
You're ready to roll. Get rid of Caleb and Penix if you can for someone else, or trade Herbert for, legit wide receiver 1 when you're all done with the draft.
Put Herbert and Reed together and get yourself,
Well, so the lowest, we got a guy with Baker and Russell, Jared.
That guy wants a quarterback.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Jared Goff and
who would you try to get from T. Williams 05's team?
Yeah, just trade for Pittman. They're willing to get rid of Pittman. He's a good name to get right now for low. I would just trade Penix or Williams for Pittman if I could. I don't know if you would do that, Garrett.
He might not in a 1 QB. I mean, if he can, sure. I just don't know how much Pittman helps your room. He's another guy that kind of falls into the same range. So I would be more apt to pair a wide receiver with a quarterback. What was the other team that had real low quarterback? Baker and who do they have? Puka, Jack Smith, and Jigba. Those were probably too far away. Romo Dunze might be the target there.
What about Mike Evans?
Caleb.
It's true. Mike Evans would be a fine one too. Yeah, just straight up for a quarterback. I can see that happening because they're a lower tier team.
Would you do Mike Evans or Devontae Adams? Just straight up 1 year
production? I would to help my team that win this year. Absolutely.
Yeah. The one who has Odunze might be interested in Caleb Williams. So depending on their view on Evans, they might even give you a plus. I don't know, but
maybe.
I think that's a good move.
All right, let's go over cruising. How long are we doing this for? This show's going to be pretty long. We're definitely going over an hour 30. I know that for sure. Probably pushing the 2-hour mark. So yeah, this isn't just a quick in and out. We're in it. This is commitment. We're in this. All right. Travis has this trade question for us that he submitted via the QR code there that you can click at the or scan at the top of the page up there. You can scan that if you want to make sure for sure that your trade question is going to be asked on the show. You can scan it and you will get it.
Answered.
Answered. That's right. Not just asked and answered. I'm glad we clarified that because I think people thought, man, paying this money to just ask a question and never have it answered is such good value. That is what I need.
Special half off though if you just want us to ask it.
There you go. 50% off.
Yep.
If you just want to type. All right. Travis's trade here. Let's see. His team here. Let's see. The owner of Neighbors Think wants me to trade him Bucky for Burrow. He said I could probably squeeze more out of him since he's brought it up to me a lot. Should I center a trade around Burrow and give up Bucky, given my running back core, especially if New England doesn't do much for me this season? If so, what are some counters I can send with these pieces involved? So, Pete, this is a 1 QB, 10-team league, right?
Yep.
1 QB, 10-team league. Look, I like Burrow. I think he's a really good quarterback. However, unless it is a true difference-making quarterback, I am not trading any valuable asset in a 10-team league for a quarterback. I'm not. So really the only ones I would even sort of consider trading a semi-valuable asset for are Josh Allen, maybe Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, and maybe Lamar. Like, that's really it. Like, outside of that, I don't think anybody else is a true difference maker at the position right now. So, as good as Joe Burrow will probably be this year, and he'll probably come in as quarterback 7 or quarterback 5 or, somewhere in that range. Like, he's going to probably have another very good season. Are the points per game that he's going to give you that drastically different? Are you following the ticker there, Pete?
Yeah,
What in the heck are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
There's no way. There's no way you're listening and fishing at the same time.
Pete is trade one of the most Bucky for Joe Burrow, right?
Pete is one of the most interesting people alive. The more I've learned over the years about Pete, the more he just fascinates me. But all of that being said, I would not do that deal. I would need a lot on top of Burrow to give up Bucky Irving.
How much is a lot? How much is a lot?
If we're in the draft right now, you would probably have to give me, this is a 10-team, 1-quarterback league. I would need like Burrow and 108 to consider moving Bucky. It would have to be like that ballpark.
Yeah. If I could get Burrow and Derrick Henry, I would do that. Like,
if you're a contender, sure.
Yeah, if I can get a plus that I think is equal or better production for the next year,
can help me for this year, yeah.
And I can get Burrow, that's okay with me. But I'm with you in the overall sense that you're not going to try and trade a true starter at a running back, wide receiver position for any quarterback unless they're one of the 4 you named there. So
cool.
Okay, we got a chat Q&A coming up, but this time, if you want to get your question read on the Q&A, include your favorite movie, and we'll do it. Okay.
It's not allowed to be Spider-Man.
Well, at least the Tom Holland. Okay, we got the next
the best
one.
Spider-Man.
From Jimmy.
He really is. By the way, my favorite movie is definitely not Spider-Man, for what it's worth. I am a Christopher Nolan guy because I am a man of refined taste.
Could you imagine a Christopher Nolan Spider-Man?
It would probably be a lot like the Christopher Nolan Batman.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Jimmy's here. We've got a 12-team Superflex league. He lists a lot of players on his team. Caleb, Herbert, nothing to really speak of at running back. JJ Collins, Chris Olave, Keon Coleman, Jennings, and then Pitts and Strange. He's got a bunch of picks. All that being said, 109, 206, and a 2026 plus George Pickens for London, Sutton, and Kittle. Taylor, are you making that move? Are you taking the Pickens side or the London side?
I got to break this down a little bit just because we have so many parts here. So the first things that stick out.
Oh, what happened to Taylor happened to me.
The biggest thing that sticks out to me is
the disappearing act.
Yeah.
Ninja dust.
Anyway, let me talk about my 5 top favorite movies.
Beats Movie Corner here on the Roster Rescue. All right. I will go ahead then, and I will talk about this trade. So for me, I think he's right, though. You do kind of have to break this down. It would be probably about George Pickens and the 109 for Drake London. Would you agree with that there, Taylor?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking too. So the 206 in the second for Kittle, the 109 and Pickens for London, and you're kind of getting Sutton there out of nowhere. I would maybe be moving the 26 second for Sutton. So if that's Kittle for a 206, I really like that. So, yeah.
Yep. So I think it's the Drake London side. I feel pretty good about that. The hard part is there upside with Pickens? Sure. But we've been saying that for years. We haven't seen anything. Aaron Rodgers, maybe that helps, but we also now have a bigger wide receiver threat across from him than he's ever had in DK Metcalf. So,
and Arthur Smith.
And you get Arthur Smith sometimes. So that just happens. All right. Are we Landon? It's Landon's roster review, right?
Let's get one Q&A in.
One? All right, you only get one.
Can you narrow it down to one movie genre?
That's the question you want me to answer?
Yeah. What movie genre do you want?
Comedy.
Okay. Favorite comedy included in your trade question. I'm looking at you, Lincoln. I was going to ask yours, but you didn't include the movie.
Oh, wow. Pete's a stickler.
I guess.
No, I'm Pete.
I
Okay.
know he's following the tracker.
Okay. So the next one is
Landon, right?
Landon. Yep.
All right. And it's the replacements team that we're looking at here. And he said, I feel like the commissioner has every single bonus scoring setting turned on. Big yardage plays, big yardage game total bonuses, etc. That means one player having a couple big plays can change an entire matchup. So what are we doing with this team? We have Drake May, Baker Mayfield, JJ McCarthy at quarterback to go along with Aaron Rodgers and Daniel Jones, who both currently don't have jobs, but still valuable assets because both could have jobs realistically this season. Running back, Breece Hall, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Tony Pollard at running back. At wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Romo Dunze, Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, and Darnell Mooney. Tight ends, we've got TJ Hawkinson and Taysom Hill. However, we have basically no picks this season. We have the 304, but that's about it. That's about it. So right now, dynasty-wise, this team is the 4th ranked team. Pete, what is this in contender mode, a.k.a. redraft mode?
I'm curious. What are you predicting?
Well, I haven't seen the other teams.
Well,
I'm predicting middle of the pack.
Just looking at this team, yeah, I was going to say middle as well.
Ooh, you can't get more middle than that.
Unless you're 5.5. All right.
No, it's 10.
Huh?
There's 10 teams.
Yeah, but you got one. There's 5 on one side and 5 on the other.
Oh, dang.
This is not a math show.
I was told there would be no math. All right. All that being said, yes, we are right in the middle here. And this is one of those situations where I think this team is trending toward a rebuild.
Yeah.
The problem that you have right now is that you do not own your own pick so you do in 2026. So actually you're okay. I was thinking 2025. That doesn't really matter as much. If you wanted to push it to play one more season and just kind of see, like, sometimes teams get lucky. Sometimes things bounce your way. Maybe Tyrone Tracy has another good year. Maybe somebody gets hurt and Tyjae Spears has a big year, and so Tony Pollard doesn't take as much run, or Jalen Wright hops in, or, whatever. Those kinds of things can happen. So if you wanted to give it like one last ride into the sunset, I'm okay with that. But I'm strongly evaluating my team at the trade deadline and saying, is this team with all of these young running backs that most of them at this point are guys that I'm not super confident in, young quarterback in Drake May that maybe he ascends this year, maybe he doesn't. Where are guys like Odunze at? There's a lot of like question marks with some of those players. Really evaluating that team at the trade deadline, and then I'm making my decision. Do I want to trade my 26 first to compete this year because some things have broken my way, or have things not broken my way and I really need to go for toward a rebuild? My guess is this is leaning toward a bit of a rebuild, not a full on, not like a complete teardown, but maybe taking some of the assets like a Chris Godwin that you could get something for at the deadline. Maybe taking one of your quarterbacks so you can get something at the deadline, and maybe just kind of adding a few more young assets to try to build up that running back room and stuff for the following season. Taylor, am I off base? What do you think?
It's tough. We don't have any picks for this year, but I agree with you that this looks more like a rebuild than a contender team to me. I think there's a lot of risk playing it out this season. Guys like Aaron Rodgers might be worth absolutely nothing after the first few weeks. Tony Pollard, depending on how this draft goes, might completely fall off the face of the earth if Tyjae Spears or someone else takes over. There's a lot of fragility with this roster. So as far as me wanting to invest into this season, I'm pretty hesitant. Even guys like Chris Godwin, Darnell Mooney, they might be at their peak value right now, or they will be at the start of this next season. They're likely to decline in their overall dynasty value. I think I'm trying to make some moves now if I can. I think
that's the hard part, Taylor. I don't know if you can make moves now and maximize the value, because right now everybody wants the youth, wants the picks, and veterans just don't have the value. Don't you think it would be better to wait till either, if you're really convinced you're going to be in rebuild, waiting till like week 1, week 2, week 3 and start moving some of those guys right away? Or if you kind of want to see how things play out, you can wait till the trade deadline. And then trade deadline is usually when players have the max value and picks are the absolute cheapest.
So one thing that I'm noticing here is that most people don't have their 2025 first in their league. So I'm not sure if that's because one person is hoarding them all.
Probably.
If that's the case, that means there's people in your league who are excited. People are excited to trade away their firsts in this league. So I think what I would be doing is trying to trade away for 2026 firsts right now. So as people's rosters don't have the rookies on them, people don't have optimism about certain parts of their team, I think now's the time to trade away a guy like Tyrone Tracy. Can I get a 2026 first for Tracy? Can I add Darnell Mooney and Tracy for a 26 first? What do I need to do to get more capital for next season? Is that kind of where my brain goes to? I know you can't do much buying into this year's first round with the assets that are on this team, but I'm definitely looking to rebuild in 26. If you want to keep yourself competitive enough, that's fine. I don't think you want to shed guys like Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson. I'm a believer in Devonta Smith as a whole. Breece Hall, I'd keep on to him. But I'm happy to move any of these guys for a random veteran and a 26 pick. So can I tier down into the oldest guy in the wide receiver 3 range? Can I get Keenan Allen and a second for Darnell Mooney? Whatever it is. Can I tier down into future capital? That's where I'm going with this roster, Garrett. I'm kind of scared about where this thing looks at the trade deadline. Like, you might have the 102, 103, but you were trying to contend all season. It's just, it doesn't line up. If Tracy gets replaced, if the Titans don't have much of an offensive scheme, like, there's just so many things I'm looking at that concern me. So I'm one to be more likely to tear it down than I am to push it an extra year. I think it's kind of a fun part of Dynasty. I'm not super worried about being the worst team in the league for 1 year if I know I'm going to get a guy like Genty when it's all said and done. But I hear what you're saying too. I think it's this might be a buy-in question to some degree. Is this a cheap league? Is this something that you've invested a lot of money into? Maybe push it another year. But if it's a cheap league, I'd say give it a shot and try to reform this thing over this season and come into 2026 really ready to go.
Right.
Question. So Chris Godwin, are you actively trying to shop him to one of these lower end wide receiver teams like Lights Camara Action has Terry McLaurin and Juwan Jennings, but contender wise, he's at 6.
He does look like a team that is trying to contend. If you have Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, James Cook as your running back, Alvin Kamara as your running backs, like, you're trying to contend. So yes, that would be, if I'm looking to move some guys, Chris Godwin would be somebody that I would be open to moving for the right price. Maybe you acquire his 26 first. Honestly, teams like this where I'm like, shoot, in 1 year, a lot could change for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I could like getting the 27 first personally, because that could be a late first in 26, but that could be a really early first in 2027. So I don't mind if I know I'm going into rebuild. I don't want to go 3 years out. That's too far, but I'm willing to go 2 years out. If I think that that's a team that like really could fall off a cliff.
Yeah, we have Rodgers too, right? On this team.
Yep, Rodgers. So they could.
So we could do Rodgers and Godwin and see what else it takes to get a 27 first. I think.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep.
And
Okay.
they could use that. I don't think you're insulting that manager by giving them that offer. I think if they're looking to
Not at all.
contend, that's a good offer. So
Anyone else that you're actively trying to like trade away on this roster? Tyjae Spears, is he going to have any relevance at all?
I mean, I would probably sell Pollard and Spears as a package.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just say like, hey, you get the backfield, so that way you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter which one, what happens there. So I would probably sell them as a package. I would also be open, like if people have finally valued him where he should be valued, which to me is roughly like a 3rd round startup pick. Baker Mayfield is somebody that if somebody's willing to value him as he should be valued, I'm willing to move on from him. If not, I'm not selling him low because I think a lot of people have too low of a view of this guy. But if he's being valued okay, then I'd be willing to do it.
Okay, so the Keon County, his running backs, like he's number 2 in contender, but his running backs are James Conner, Chase Brown, and Pacheco, and Javonte, and Zach Charbonnet. So what if you wanted to put together a trade with Pollard or Spears, or who else would you how confident are you in Tyron Tracy long term?
that's what I'm saying, Garrett. I think we got to get rid of these running backs before the draft.
If you can, but most people like that's the hard part is like, what are you actually like? What are people giving up for Tyrone Tracy right now? Pollard, I could see because having both of those guys there, it's unlikely with all the needs the Titans have that they really draft a running back highly. I could understand Tyrone Tracy if somebody's willing to give you something of value, but that's the hard part.
Would you do Pickens?
What's that?
For Tracy? George Pickens for Tracy?
I would take George Pickens, yeah.
Over Tracy, I would, because I think long term that's a better decision.
It's a better asset, yeah.
What about Keon Coleman?
I'm not a big Coleman guy.
I don't think that's where you want to park it. I think you'd rather go
with a pick.
I like the Pickens idea. If Waddle's really going to be valued where Pickens is, I would go after Waddle. Like, I mean, if that manager actually sees that there, yeah.
Even if you have to give a little bit.
Would you trade Tracy for 2.8 and 2.7?
I would not.
Oh man, that's tough.
It's a deep class.
It is a deep class, but it still doesn't matter. Like it's still about a 15% hit rate. So obviously you increase your odds by getting 2 shots at it instead of just the 1 shot. But
does Tracy have more than a 30% chance of like actually hitting?
I mean, as long as his fumbles aren't 30% of his carries, I think so.
The thing that helped was the coaching staff remained. That helped. And I think that they have bigger, more pressing needs. However, I could see this become a scenario where it's like, oh, dang, they drafted Ollie Gordon. So now it's Gordon and Tracy together. So I don't think his value plummets, but I think the odds of it staying where it was at the end of last year is very low.
Okay.
I think they're going to draft someone, personally.
Yeah, and that's...
Even if it's the 4th or 5th round, they'll draft someone, and then that'll be a team that people will like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Tracy's one of those players that I'm personally trying to actively get away from right now. But perfect.
That's the hard part is most savvy managers are trying to get away from any running back, not inside the top like 6 or 7 running backs, because none of them are safe. None of them are safe right now.
Perfect. Really fast. Question from the chat.
All right, Taylor, you take this one. I'm gonna go grab a drink real quick. You take this one.
What are you doing, Taylor? What are you doing? With guys like Brandon Ayuk and Chris Olave, are you selling or are you holding?
I think with Ayuk, I would be holding because we don't know what it's going to look like without Debo, and he's coming back from an injury. So you've held on to Ayuk this long. You might as well wait until you're going to get the actual price or value for him when he's healthy. So I would be waiting at least until the beginning of the season, so people will get a chance to see him on the field, running routes, doing all these things, to show that he's going to be back to the wide receiver 1 for San Francisco. And that gives the media time to pump him up, and you'll see more of him on social media, stuff like that. So anytime a guy's been hidden in the background all season, I'm not looking to move them after holding on to them. Olave, although that sounds like a similar situation, it's not for me. I think Olave's problems that he's dealing with are a little more consistent. They can be duplicated more easily. So I would like to move off of Olave. I'm not even sure that I need to get full dollar value for him. If I can get 95 cents to $1, I might be okay with that. It's hard to know without knowing the rest of your team, but overall, I'm selling Chris Olave for as most as I can get for him, but I'm going to hold on to it.
And then Garrett, I'll bring this to you because you just got some water. Is it crazy to say that if Sanders falls past 5 in the NFL draft, this is from Michael, by the way, on TikTok.
Thanks,
past
Michael.
5, so is it crazy to say that if Sanders falls past 5, that he won't go in the first round of Superflex rookie drafts?
If he falls
10 to
look,
15.
Here's how it works out for me. If he's a first round quarterback, I'm taking him in the first round of my Superflex drafts. The value of a quarterback, even outside of the top 5, is they still hold their value for quite a bit of time. So that's the thing. It's not even, is Shador going to hit or not? That's not even that's part of the question, sure. But part of it is, how long is he going to hold his value for? If a receiver bombs year 1, if a running back bombs year 1, their value tanks. If a quarterback bombs year 1, it's like, well, they didn't have a good line, and he needs more opportunity to blah blah blah. And you still see 2-3 years later, they're still holding some value. So that's the thing is, if he is a first round quarterback, he should go in the first round. If I don't have a pick at pick 11, pick 12, and he's still on the board and he goes in the first round, I'm actively trying to trade up to try to get this guy, because odds are you're going to be able to get a first round pick, even if they're just okay. Look at Michael Penix. Michael Penix played 3-4 games, and they were good, but nothing special. And this is coming from somebody that really likes Michael Penix. If somebody said right now, would you rather have Michael Penix or the 108? I'll take Michael Penix. I'll take the quarterback. So I think Penix right now probably has a similar-ish value to Ward. Ward might be slightly higher, but somewhere in that ballpark. He played 4 games, and they were fine. So that's the thing with the quarterbacks for me.
Okay. And chance 1 to 10 of this happening. I just want one word answer for both of you. Okay. Chance of Breece Hall bouncing back this year.
8.
8.5.
Okay, we got another roster review.
Let's do it. All right. Here we go. This is
love
our
these.
guy, Bradley. Bradley in the Dynasty League. This is a 1 quarterback, 10-team league. We are looking at Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. So plenty of ammo at quarterback in a 1 QB league. Bijan, Gibbs, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey. Woo! We have not seen these kind of running backs today, Taylor. This is our first look at a running back.
Something tells me that this guy's rebuilding.
Yeah, right.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore at wide receiver. And then we have Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, David Njoku, Cade Otton. Now, he has no picks.
He has 2027 fourth.
Yes, I stand corrected. 2027 fourth round pick. So we were really excited to see the 14th receiver off the board 3 years from now. That being said, this team, dynasty-wise, number one team, and contender-wise, also number one team, correct?
Yeah, he also has a lot of notes. Did we read that yet?
We have not yet. All right, so here's the notes. This is for my only dynasty team on Sleeper. League is called the Dynasty League, and my team name is currently Reign of the Phoenix. We are a standard scoring, non-PPR, and 6 passing TDs. We have 2 more seasons in this format, 2025 and 2026. Then starting with the 2027, we will be eliminating kickers and IDPs and adding an extra flex spot. 2025 will be the 7th year of our league. I've won back-to-back Super Bowls, 24-4 in my last 2 regular seasons, and want to continue to dominate in my window. As you look for potential options on my team, I'm open to trading all of my 2028 picks once they become available after the draft. Tight end is probably the best position, or the position that scares me the most as a whole, with wide receiver depth being another question, even if a stud gets hurt. Ultimately, curious what you guys think I should do to make sure I can win 4 in a row. So
4 in a row, by the way.
That's nuts. That is nuts. He's going for 4 straight. He's won 2, going for 4. So he's not even like worried about the third. He's like, I'm definitely winning 3, but I want to know if I win.
We
4.
got to go for 4.
Which I respect. I respect that a lot. I love it. I love it. So Bradley, here's my thoughts on this. Obviously at quarterback, more than enough. Like an abundance of quarterbacks in a 1 QB league. You're not getting anything for Russell Wilson. But if somebody is interested in one of the others, I'm open to discussing that possibility. So leaving that on the table. That being said, with your roster, running backs, obviously, you have 4 guys that could all finish potentially as high as running back 1. So you have no needs at running back at all. Wide receiver, you have probably 3 guys that have the ability to finish as the number 1 overall wide receiver, and you have 2 more guys that could be very solid wide receiver 2s depending on how the season goes. Then we get to the tight end position. Dalton Kincaid, Mark Andrews, David Njoku. All in all, if you wanted to start trading 2028 picks, have at it. Like I have no issue with you saying I'm all in once again. My team is still young enough. I can make things happen. But my biggest question, honestly, is do you need to? Like, do you necessarily need to go out there right now before the season starts and make these moves? Now, granted, obviously it gets a little more expensive to trade for a vet in season, but I would much rather wait. I would much rather wait right now because there's nothing worse than giving up your first round pick and seeing that player you trade for get hurt with an ACL injury week 2. Like, that's the worst. I traded for this insurance policy for him to just go down right away. Like, and now I'm kind of back in the same spot. So for me, I would rather wait and hold those 2028 picks into the season and say, hey, did Dalton Kincaid have a bounce back season? Hey, is Mark Andrews still even on the Ravens? Hey, is David Njoku balling out with whoever heck the quarterback is in Cleveland? Like, those are things, because any of those 3 things could happen at tight end. You might be just fine. You could be in terrible shape. No idea. All of those guys are very volatile assets. Did Christian McCaffrey get hurt again? And Jahmyr Gibbs is just like constantly week to week. And I actually do need to load up at running back. Like, I would hate to make that decision now and get rid of all my liquidity now when I could use it a lot more on week 7, week 8, week 12, whatever. That would be my kind of thought on this team. Taylor, am I an idiot?
Oh man, don't throw me in a softball like that.
Not
I
okay.
mean,
Am I an idiot for this specific
you sound
take?
reasonable. This sounds reasonable
Okay.
from you. Is that? Can we decide on? Yeah. No. Absolutely. I think Joe Burrow, Dak, Mahomes. You're good. I wouldn't really worry about trying to get into one of those top 4 guys. You're good enough. The running backs, I'm with you. They're fine. They're great. They're the best in the league. But the one downside is that you've got a lot of duplicates here. You're covering yourself. You've got McCaffrey and Mason. You've got Hall and Allen, Robinson and Algier. So smart, but also a very small pool to pull from. So what I'm going to do in this roster is if you scroll down a little bit there, Pete, so that people can see. Yeah, so I'm getting rid of De'Ami Brown, Jamari Thrash, Kate Stover, Dalton Schultz. Like those guys are out of here, and I'm still getting some backup running backs on this team. I know that I'm killing it as far as my like top end guys, but I think, you talk about your depth at the wide receiver room. Really, after your studs at running back, you don't have anyone that's likely to also be good for you. There's not going to be someone who comes out of the woodworks to be like that unbelievable extra flex for you because you're not taking any swings there. So that's one of the things I would add is to kind of recalibrate those low end guys at tight end and wide receiver, still back to that running back backup, whoever you can get off the waivers kind of guys. But looking at the tight ends, I like Njoku. I like Andrews as he is right now. I mean, they just added more talent to Baltimore, so we'll see what ends up happening when it all shakes out. But if you're going to make a move with your 28s, then it's going to be for tight end, but you got to get what you're looking for. It's got to be a guaranteed top 5 scorer. Like maybe you can go get George Kittle for all of them right now. If someone offers you Kittle for all of your 2028s, are you going to take that, Garrett?
I mean, it depends on how he's playing and how things go. Like I wouldn't do that today necessarily.
No,
but
not
in
today.
season, if
not
I'm struggling
today.
at tight end and he's having, one of his typical top 5 type seasons, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning, is I would just be trying to move those to get a guaranteed guy. You're not going to be able to get a McBride. Maybe, you don't want to take any risk now. We've talked about these other rosters and their draft picks and how important it is for them to be building through the draft, but this is not the same situation. You're good to go for this year again. So unfortunately, you don't get to really take part in the draft this year, but happy that you get to take part in the playoffs.
Let's do a mock draft really fast. Okay, we're done. So for the next 3 years,
we just did the last 3 years.
One last thought for me, what I would be trying to do is if there's just so much depth on this roster, what I would be trying to do with your bench players, I know that bye-week fillers are important and injury depth is important, but draft picks are ultimately the best injury replacement because they don't get injured. And if you have a player get injured, you can use that pick if your league is trade happy enough. I've been in leagues that they don't really trade that much, and all of a sudden you just have a bunch of firsts and no one's wanting to trade with you. So that's kind of an issue. But having a couple even seconds that you can use as the trade deadline approaches to fill out your squad for the playoff push is super valuable. So I might be trying to maybe not the top guys, but maybe tearing down from a Jalen Waddle and getting a pick and another older veteran type player or something like that. That's something
I don't hate that
might
at all.
look into.
Yeah, go get Adams. Yep. Adams in a second, or if you can get a first, we're giving something back. Great.
Yeah, probably Adams in a second.
Okay. We got another roster rescue right now. Can you tell me the name?
Which one? Because my next one, I see a trade next.
Okay, let's do a trade next. What's the name?
Evan.
Evan?
Hi, Evan. Sorry, I forgot about you. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a
Well,
few
two
trades.
of us didn't forget about you.
Or actually,
Did
no,
we
we've
do
got a
Bradley?
trade. We did Bradley.
Was this just Bradley?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Sorry, Brad.
Is this your first show?
I
In
actually
fact-
do these in the bathroom every day. This is actually my 15th.
You know what the funny thing is? For most people, I would assume that's a joke. Pete, it's 50-50.
I do it with my headphones too.
Oh, man.
Anyway,
All right. Evan, he comes to us with a trade here. This is a 14 team big boy. I like those kind of leagues, those deep ones with a lot of teams. Superflex, tight end premium. Superflex is tough in 14 teamers. It is ruthless and cutthroat for the quarterback. So 14 team Superflex. What do I do with Anthony Richardson? Running back targets to potentially trade Richardson for. What are we doing there? So the longer version of the question is there, but I think this is really what we need to know. Like, if you have a team like this, Taylor, are you, because we know that quarterbacks have crazy value in these types of leagues, even if they're questionable job security, which definitely applies to Richardson. Are you A, trying to keep him, B, thinking that he's still a valuable asset and you're really negotiating trades and trying to figure it out, or C, just I'm getting out as fast as I can and I'll take what I can get? Like, where are you kind of at on the spectrum?
So I think, as much as I'd love to give you a straightforward answer, this is an auction league. So I do need to look at it from the lens of an auction. So with what can I get for Anthony Richardson, I'm happy to trade him for some cash in this situation, because you say you're running back needy, and in an auction draft, you can kind of pick your spots or look for value. This is a running back heavy draft class with a lot of talent. So if you can get some good value during the auction at these running back positions, it's the equivalent of trading Anthony Richardson for a 110, the 202, the 203, and the 208.
And thank you.
Like, if you
and
can get good auction
I do want to make sure that's clear, because if you guys have not done an auction yet, the pick values, everybody does it a little bit different, but the pick values basically equate to money to bid on it. So that's the weird part about auctions versus normal leagues, is you could be getting, if you have the third most money, you're getting the third pick, you're getting the third best player on your board anyway. If you have the third most money, that does not guarantee you're getting the third best player, because it depends on how much you're willing to give. Are you willing to give all your money? Or so those drafts can get real wonky.
Yeah, and I think that you have a better opportunity to turn Anthony Richardson into something valuable for your team in this type of a format. Given that it's not a roster review and everything, I'm not going to get too much into the non-auction side of it, Garrett. But if I'm looking for value for Anthony Richardson, I'm guessing that you guys are doing $1,000 budget, because you got 100 for your final for winning. That's like a 10% maybe. So I'm going to base this off of your $1,000 budget. I'm going to move Anthony Richardson for $100 if I can get it. That's where I'm at. Can I get 10% increase to my budget for this rookie class? And then I'm going to use that to the best of my ability to fill in holes and see where that gets me. But if your only other quarterback is Drake May and this is a super flex, I don't actually think you can do a whole lot. Like, if you really only have two quarterbacks, you can't trade away your second quarterback. But assuming that you're just showing us, that's where I would lean.
Perfect.
Okay. Breaking in really
Pete.
fast. Can we do Brian's trade question? Because I just queued up 2 more roster reviews. So we have 3 roster reviews to do after this trade question. So I'm working on that right now. So can we move?
All right. We can definitely do that. Let me say this. If you guys want to do more roster reviews, at this point for this show, we're going to have to cap it. So we won't have any more room to do any more roster reviews other than the ones that have already come in that Pete's working on right now. So which roster reviews do we have that we're still going to do, Pete?
We have Luke, Kevin, and Marc.
Okay, Luke, Kevin, and Marc. We're going to do these three. That's all right. We can still hear you. These 3 roster reviews. We will not be doing any more roster reviews this show. If you buy one, it will go to the next show with one exception. If you do a NUKE button, that changes everything. And not only will we do your roster review this show, extend the happen?
No.
Oh, you just wanted to play it.
Your voice just messed up.
I was like,
Whoops.
wow, what about that? Timing is incredible.
What a time. No, sorry, guys.
No, you're fine. If you do a NUKE button, we will extend the length of the show and we will move your roster review to the beginning. All the rosters we've got in so far, those 3 that we named, we will finish this show. So you don't have to worry about it. It will happen in this show. But that is the only way we're doing an additional roster review is if somebody does a NUKE button. So I just want to make sure everybody gets that and it's clear. No more of this show. Any roster reviews submitted at this point will go to next show unless it is a NUKE button. All right. So let's get – so which one did you say you wanted us to do now, Pete?
Brian's.
All right, let's go to Brian's trade question here. Brian's question, the league is a 12-man PPR, half tight end premium, 4-point per passing touchdown. Tua, Kyler, Carr, running back, we've got Achane, DeAndre Swift, Jalen Wright, Braylon Allen, Rico Dowdle, wide receiver, Puka, Tyreek, Marvin Harrison, Nico Collins, Sutton, Jacoby Myers, tight end, Bowers, Ingram, Taysom Hill. No 25 picks and have all 226 and beyond. All 226. So do they only go 2 rounds? Or maybe just have a second and 26? Either way, potential trade. Give Kyler and Marvin. Give Kyler and Marvin. And receive the 101 and T. Higgins. So give Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. Get the 101 and T. Higgins. Taylor, you making that move?
No. With my quarterback room, I'm not making that move. I've got Tua and Carr. I don't know if either one of them is going to be starting for me a year from now, maybe even the middle of this next year. We'll see how the draft shakes out for the Saints. But no, I would like to entertain that value in a vacuum. I don't hate the idea of that trade, but I think with this roster, you can't gut your quarterback room like that just to get Ashton Jeanty.
Taylor, we are completely on the same page on this one. We draft for value, but when we make a trade, the trade is to make us have the best possible team. I do not believe this trade helps your team. Now you're starting Tua and Carr, and after that, you don't have any other quarterbacks really, at least not that you've told us about.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I would take the 101 over Marvin Harrison Jr., it's not like it's drastic. Like I'm definitely taking 101 for sure. But if I'm taking Ashton Jeanty at pick 14 in a startup, I'm probably taking Marvin Harrison Jr. somewhere between 20 and 24. So they're still in the same round. So
can you give up Marv and something else to just get the 101? That's what I'm seeing. I think you got countered into this. So can you send Marv and Carr if they need a quarterback? Can you do that for just the 101? That's where I'm
maybe
looking.
Marvin Sutton, Marvin DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, and I just can't touch your quarterback.
Yep, we agree. All right.
Okay.
We doing Luke's roster review here?
Yep.
Luke. All right.
Your father.
All right. Here we go.
McCaffrey.
We have a. Is this a super? Oh no! Wait. I think that's the wrong. I think that's the wrong little trade thing below it.
Nope.
Yeah.
There we go.
Good instinct.
1 QB, half PPR, 12-teamer here on the Dynasty side. We are looking at the 7th best team. In contender mode, we are in 10th. So either way, we're not in a great spot. So let's go back to our dynasty mode here.
Do you want me to read the notes? Or do you
sure,
got
go ahead
it?
and read the notes.
Okay, so trying to trade for one or two of the following using my picks beside the 101. Bijan for the 102, 2026 first and 2026 second. Kenneth Walker for 209 and a 2026 third. I would not do that. Or I would do that if I'm Walker's side. McCaffrey for pick 202, 209, and Keaton Mitchell. This is one quarterback half point PPR. I have the 101, 102, 201, 202, 209, and 310. So his picks have not updated in the GM yet.
Okay. Probably means they haven't rolled their league over, is what I'm guessing. So 101, 102, 201, 202, 209, and 310 are the picks. So let's go through the roster real quick. Jaden Daniels, Tua, Sam Darnold at quarterback. So you do have 3 starting quarterbacks there. Zach Charbonnet, though, right now is the best asset at running back, and there's really not even much to mention after him. Wide receivers, we've got Marvin Harrison, Rashee Rice, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall. And then at tight end, Pete, can you scroll real quick for me?
Yep.
Tight end, we've got Dalton Kincaid, Jatavian Sanders, and Theo Johnson. So here's the thing for me on this. While overall, the Bijan for 102, 26 first and 26 second, I think is a totally fine deal, and I actually would have no problem doing that. But it changes when I realize the other offers that are on the table.
Yeah. 100%.
Because Kenneth Walker for 209 and a third is ridiculous value. Like,
get it.
Absurd. You could tell me that, oh yeah, and I also have to give the 110, and I would probably say, yeah, I would still do that for Kenneth Walker. So like, you could add in a late first, and you still say okay. Like, that's the smashiest of smash accepts. And McCaffrey for 202, 209, and Keaton Mitchell, like, I would do that as well. So even if that has to be, move the picks around a little bit to make it work, like, okay, I'll take both Kenneth Walker and Christian McCaffrey for that. Now, the only thing is, I still don't know, even with those 2 trades, that you would fully be there to compete. But here's what you would be looking at then. At 101, you have Ashton Genty. So now you have Ashton Genty, Christian McCaffrey, and Kenneth Walker. That's a really good running back room. At 102, we've talked about it before. Depends on how things go. But let's say, for argument's sake, this time we say it's Tet McMillan at 102. Once again, that's pretty fluid spot right there. Could easily be Henderson, Hampton, Ward. We'll see how the draft shakes out. But like, I would be fine with any of those players in your predicament, because either now you have 4 running backs in a truly legit running back room. You have Tet, which would give you now 4 legit receivers and potentially a 5th with Ricky Pearsall. Or you're getting another quarterback to kind of help insulate the what ifs with Tua and Sam Darnold. So either way, your team is now looking drastically different. And you could also just make that deal and then flip Kenneth Walker or Christian McCaffrey again for more value, because I think those trades are just such good value that even if you're like, I don't know if I can compete with those guys, doesn't matter. The value's too good to pass. You make the deal and then figure it out afterward. Taylor, what do you think?
You covered it. You are spot on today. That's
Thanks,
fantastic. Sir. Nailed it. I'm taking both those second trades. However, I mean, the Kenneth Walker one is already done. Like, I've accepted it before I even told my best friend that it was in my mailbox. Yep. Like, that was over. Then the first thing I'm doing is going to the McCaffrey manager and saying, hey, you know what? I don't have a 209. I've got a 26 second. How about we do that? 202 is a future second in Mitchell. Let's do that. And then I'm making the same picks you talked about. You still got the 201 there to add another guy to your team, whether that's, it's a 1 QB, so it's probably more like the 204, 205. But still, you're adding a quality, Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, whoever gets a good landing spot kind of guy there too. So I think you could go with Tet at 102. You're set. Like I love what's going on here. I see you had a rough year probably, but you planned for that. That's how you got the 101 in the first place, or the 102, is you earned that. So I think you're in a good spot. It was a tough ride to get here, but make your picks. Don't get too cute with it.
I'm sorry, reset the league. Do you remember what the league name was? I'll put it back up.
Jemmy boy.
Sorry, there we go. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I would be looking to do any sort of a trade in this, Garrett. I think you just you take those two that are on the table, you stick with the wide receivers you've got, see how the San Francisco thing works out, and yeah, give it a go.
I think that's perfect.
Okay, on to the next one. Kevin.
Monday fun day.
Monday fun day. Some of these, your guys' league names are really variant, to say the least.
For sure.
Can I break in really fast?
No.
Oh. So I messed up.
Okay.
I missed Justin's. It came in a minute between another person's roster review.
Okay.
So can we add him onto the queue? Because he has been.
It's another roster review.
Yeah.
You know what, Justin? I'm a nice guy.
Well,
I like you.
Tell me that you're not a nice guy. It's not his fault.
Justin,
It's my
time.
fault.
We're adding him
Just
in.
in time.
There's no
Okay,
way we're
let's
gonna
go, Justin.
just leave Justin hanging. He's here for the first show. Heck yeah, we're gonna do it. Yeah,
Pays to be present, for sure. Yep.
for sure. I'm not a Grinch. I'm not a grouch.
I shipped the kids away for the afternoon, so
Said get
let's
the
do it.
smell out of here.
Yeah, right.
All right. So are we doing Kevin's now, or are we doing?
Yeah, let's do Kevin's now, and I'm still setting up Justin's league.
All right, perfect. All right, so we'll do Kevin's. This is a super flex 12-team league. League started in 2023. Tanked the first year to get Caleb and Marvin Harrison Jr. Team is fairly young. Should I keep building through the draft or try to send some of these picks for more productive players? Please give me some advice on some trade targets. We can definitely do that kind of thing here. So looking at this team, although he must have traded Caleb Williams because he is no longer on the team.
I think he was tanking for it. I don't know if he got him.
Oh, so he must have taken Marvin Harrison Jr. because I do see him on the team.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Anthony Richardson, Jimmy G, Kenneth Walker, Tyrone Tracy. A lot of Tyrone Tracy we've seen today.
Yep.
Jonathan Brooks,
They
Zach
listen
Charbonnet.
to us.
They do. A lot of Zach Charbonnet too. Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier. Then at wide receiver, probably the strongest position on the team, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Addison, tight end, Kyle Pitts. So the draft pick situation is 10. Is that it, man? That's tough. So 107, 207, and 211. So that's a tough spot to be in. Because you were kind of already, it's sounding like, doing a bit of a productive struggle to kind of get an elite asset. And you got one of Marvin Harrison Jr., although he didn't perform like it in year one, which is a little bit disappointing. So I think there is a lot of work to do on this team. And if I had to guess, Pete, switch it over to contender real quick. I'm guessing this is a bottom 2 or 3 team. Okay, it's bottom 4.
Bottom 4.
Missed it by that much. But still, this isn't something that you feel like we're going to be competing anytime soon. So we'll go back to the dynasty mode where we're kind of middle of the road. But I would be taking a look at, unfortunately, like I only really like to do 2-year rebuild. I don't really like to do much more than that and playing for much more than that. But I think this one we are kind of at a situation where it's going to be a little bit of a long haul. I've started the last couple, though, and I realize I'm starting again. Taylor, I want to give you an opportunity to get in and lead the discussion on this one. So what direction are you starting to take this thing?
So I've got to look at who's going to be best for my team 2 and 3 years from now. I'm not saying you got to have a full rebuilding mindset, but I don't think with some of these other rosters that we've seen that it's much different than a redraft, because you're just trying to make sure that you have a competing roster with the assets you have. I think we're behind the 8 ball here with the assets, and we're behind the 8 ball with the actual competition side of it. So I think we need to pick a lane, and you're better off trying to go for the dynasty side with the pieces that you have here, because while a guy like Tracy is valued higher than like maybe a mid-second, early second, he's not guaranteeing you production in a way that I can build around him to compete this year. So I'm trying to shed guys like Tracy. I'm trying to shed Anthony Richardson. Can you go down a little bit, Pete? Guys like George Pickens. Like, there's a lot of, I'm going to call them red flags. There's a lot of hidden value in your roster that could completely disappear after this season. So I would be trying to liquidate some of these more volatile assets into known quantities. So if I could get, gosh, I'm trying to think of some good names. If you want to compete, but you still want to be rebuilding, you've got Kenneth Walker. That's a good name to have. Can you go out and get yourself, gosh, Drake London maybe in your wide receiver room? Can you give up George Pickens, Tyrone Tracy, and a second for London? Like, that's a move that maybe I'm making. I'm having a hard time here, Garrett, feeling like we can do a whole lot without going for a rebuild. Like, my instinct is to tear this thing down.
I think you have to blow it up.
Just keep my four
as
guys.
Much as it sucks.
Yeah.
Josh's son just lost his first tooth on our first episode. Well done. Look at that.
That's like $1.50.
Look at that symmetry.
Way to go. Way to go.
Can we do a nuke?
No.
What are we nuking?
Well, no nuke.
There's no nuke.
But let's just do one riff.
I'm so confused.
Okay.
He's got to use his technical skills.
So we're celebrating with a song that this kid doesn't know? Is that what we were doing?
Oh, that's royalty free.
All right. But yes, congratulations, Josh. And congrats to your son on losing his first tooth. Absolutely. All right. So I would say, yeah, I think we are. And Kevin just let us know he did make the playoffs last season. And I think, unfortunately, it's going to put you in a situation like the 2000s and 2010 Hawks. Like, if you remember the Atlanta Hawks, they were like the 7 seed every year. And I think that's going to be the problem. Is I think with the roster as it's currently constructed, you're going to be middle of the road often. And that's just a really tough place to live. And so really, honestly, I would say any asset I have right now outside of picks and maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm probably actively looking to see what can I do, what can I get. The problem is it's going to be hard at this point to get into this year's draft. If you can do it, awesome. But chances are you're going to have to look at more like 26 and 27 in order to get good value for your assets. So I'm seeing what Trevor Lawrence is worth. I'm seeing what Kyler Murray's worth. If you think it's a guy that can increase in value, I'm fine waiting until the season. So if you're like, well, Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen might be better, I think I can get more value for him in season. Cool. Wait till in season. Likely you will not get more value for Tyrone Tracy in season than now. So maybe he's a sooner rather than later one. So I do think I would be, because it's not a horrible roster, but it's just not one that's ever going to be one of those top 2 or 3 teams unless you hit perfectly with every pick and you get like the best player at the value every year. And that's tough to count on. That's really tough to do. So unfortunately, this would be more of a true tear down, rebuild type of situation for me.
So this, to me, this is some of the roster, like one of the rosters that need the most rescuing because it needs stuff done to it. You can't just stay midway, right? So can we make 2 trades? Like formulate 2 trades to help him out.
Yeah. So if we were to do some active trading, like these are trades that we would actively look to make. So let's say Kenneth Walker. I think he's one of the easier ones to trade.
Okay.
So let's go with Kenneth Walker. I don't think his value is going to change drastically at this point. So what teams that are pretty good could use running back? So maybe look at the full thing there still, Pete. And then running back.
The
Number one could definitely use some, and number 3 maybe could use some.
So we got Derrick Henry and then Javonte.
We're talking to
number one
for sure. Look at their receivers. Sure. Go down. Yeah, we're talking to them.
What about a Waddle? Are we targeting a Waddle?
I would
he's
like
a bounce back with Hills.
I would like to get something a little bit more if possible. There's not an obvious target. That's the hard part there. Unless we go with a draft pick. Now, if we go with a draft pick, maybe that's the route we go. Could we get 109 and 201?
Well, you can get the 109. Yeah, you can definitely get the 109 out of this guy.
Maybe
plus
109, 201, and then if you have to give a tiny bit more, you could give a tiny bit more on top of Kenneth Walker to get those 2 assets. That would be my move that I'd be actively looking to make, because they're probably getting a running back that they like with 103. It's tough to get a
I would see if I could be cute.
What's that?
I was gonna say you might be able to get cute with this guy. Go back up to their running backs quick, Pete. Yeah, I tell me what you think, Garrett. Send him Kenneth Walker and Tyrone Tracy for 109, 112, 201. Offer the guy, say, I'll give you the running backs you need, and you give me your draft. And give him an extra second if that's what he needs when he comes back to you.
If you could get that done, I would do that all day. I would do that all day if you're able to get that done. You're probably going to have to give your 26 second or something like that to make that happen. Does he have any other seconds in this year's draft? Yeah, so throw in 2 of 7. I'd be.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm finding that guy and I'm making the best deal for me with that guy's roster, and I'm not sold on making that deal, but that's what I'm doing. Is I'm going out looking, I'm hunting for a deal. This is like you're started a company here. This is your business. You got to go on LinkedIn and find the right people for you, whatever that is. So you got to go on your rosters for your managers and see what kind of a deal they can take, and then you're gonna turn that into the best thing for you, because that's where you got to start.
And Kevin, if you have any questions, feel free to. If anyone has a roster review that we're doing live, feel free to ask questions about it. What's your least back that you're willing to give up Kenneth Walker for? Would you do 112 and 201? Because if I'm this guy, I don't want to get rid of 109.
I would probably do that. I would do 112 and 201.
I think you have to take a 2-for-1 in this situation. Like your team, you want to talk about rebuilding through the draft. The only way you're going to do that is by getting more dart throws. So yeah, I would not want to make that deal on other rosters, but given you can only get what your trade partner has, I would do that. But I think you can get the 109 and the 201.
And then for quarterback, let's see what else. What else do we got?
See, what about Team 4? It looks like Team 4 might need a QB. Penix, Young, Fields, Wilson. They've got a lot of what ifs. This would be one of those situations where I might be willing to look at some upside here. So the only problem is you have a guy similar to Fields and Anthony Richardson already. Because I was going to say maybe I would be willing to do a pick and Fields. But this is super flex. Yeah, this is super flex.
Yeah.
So maybe you could do Trevor Lawrence for what picks does he have?
102, 106.
You're not getting 102. You might be able to get 106 Possibly. I doubt it, but it's possible. If not, I would also see if he wants to, like, hey, you look like a team that you're taking all the dart throw guys. You want to see what sticks because he's got Russell Wilson, he's got Justin Fields, he's got, like, all right, 27 first, and I would say 27 first for Anthony Richardson and my 27 second. Like, can I just move up into the first round with Anthony Richardson in 27? See what he says. Like, if he's willing to just take all the dart throws and see if he gets one of them to stick. But Trevor Lawrence is probably the one I'd be pushing. If it's going to be Kyler Murray that he wants, then I definitely need 106 plus. I would shoot for 102. I don't know that you'll get it, but that's what I would be shooting for.
Would you how aggressively are you getting off of Anthony Richardson? Are you keeping him?
Fairly aggressively.
So who would be a trade target for Anthony Richardson?
Can you find CJ Stroud or Brock Purdy? Those two managers?
Yeah. There we go.
There's Stroud.
So there's Stroud. So I would look to package Anthony Richardson and Trevor Lawrence for CJ Stroud.
I could see that.
That person needs Stroud, a third quarterback. I would rather have so we're rebuilding in my mind. We're not. So to me, Lawrence up to Stroud is a win. So if you feel like Purdy is another option, and those guys are similar in my mind, I'm looking to get out of Lawrence, and I want to use Richardson to do it. So I think it's easy to do a 2 quarterback for 1 trade if a team is like this guy, where they have Hurts and Stroud and no one. So if you're not big on Stroud, that's fine with me, but that's the kind of trade that I would be wanting to make with this, is because, like, Anthony Richardson isn't worth much more than a lottery ticket, right? Like, people want him to be good, but unless I also give you a Trevor Lawrence so you feel safe that you have someone, I don't know if I'm going to get anyone to take him off my hands for real value. So Stroud or Purdy, I'd rather do a 2-for-1 and get a quarterback that's a known quantity for the future.
Considering that this draft has running backs, would it be malpractice to take Judkins or Henderson at 107 if they get good draft capital? If they get good draft capital, I don't think Henderson's going to be there. I think he will likely be gone by 107. Judkins, that's a pretty common range to see Quinshon Judkins. So I think that would be totally fine. Now, what I would likely be doing, though, is I would likely either be taking that player and then maybe flipping them, because I'm not necessarily looking to build around my running backs right now, or just straight up trading the 107 for, can I get 111 and next year's first or something like that? Like, split this asset, get multiple assets that I like. So I have no problem taking best player available, and if those are the best players, then yeah. But I would probably also actively be looking to make a deal.
Perfect. Any other thoughts?
I don't think so.
Okay, on to the next one. Can you give me the league name?
Which one? Are we doing Justin's?
So,
or are we doing
let's do
Marc?
Justin's. Let's do Justin's.
No.
All right, we've got the meat hangers.
He wants you to walk
He
into
really
this.
does. Real quick side story. I absolutely did. So I do, on the off season, I do like some of my own shows sometimes where I'll like review entire leagues. And so I was doing one time, and just like you see in here, a lot of times all the words are just pushed together, or there's like no split between first name and last name. So you don't always know where it is. So I'm reading through the names, and the one is WESODUM. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. We so dumb, but they spelled dumb wrong because they're dumb. Like, they just didn't put the B on there. So it's WESODUM. So I kept talking the whole time about We So Dumb's team, and over making jokes about it, whatever. The guy comes back to me afterward, and he is rolling. He's like, so That guy's name is Wes Odom. But apparently he embraced it and changed his team name to We So Dumb, which I really appreciate.
How the turntables.
Exactly. All right, here we go. Roster review.
Little bit of context.
Context me.
He just traded away Ramondre and Brian Robinson to help to get to the 2027 first.
Brian Robinson and Ramondre for a 27 first.
I'm down for that.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is 10-team PPR league. Justin, he said I have pick 2, 11, and 13 right now. Went hard last season and destroyed by injuries. Tried to save it, and it got worse. Have a trade in the works. Jonathan Taylor and 13 for 6, 7, and 18. All right, so let's take a look at this team. This is a 1 QB, 10-team PPR league. We've got Josh Allen and Drake May, so we are set at quarterback. Running back, we have Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry, and not much after those two. Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed, Michael Pittman Jr., Cooper Kupp. And then we have at tight end TJ Hawkinson, all by his lonesome. So right now, he says he has pick 2, pick 11, and pick 13 this year. Pick 2, pick 11, and 13. So we've talked about pick 2 quite a bit today, Taylor. Pick 2 right now in a 1 QB league is likely going to be one of these 3 players. Either Tet McMillan, Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson. Is there anybody else that you can realistically see being in that spot?
Not unless it's a 2 tight end or a really heavy tight end premium.
Which typically,
I think those are the 3 names
that accompanies Superflex. I don't know that I've ever seen a 1 QB league that's like, but we're tight end premium. Could be.
Right. No, I think Henderson, if he gets first round capital, could be in there, but otherwise I'm just between Hampton and McMillan. Okay.
I'll throw Henderson in there. He's my RB2, so I would throw him in that mix as well. But all that being said, what's so funny, Pete?
I'm just reading his team's name.
Yeah, he's reading the names.
Ignore him.
He's reading the names. Yep. I knew it.
Anyway, continue.
He's like
they're pretty impressive.
12-year-old that learned to read.
They're pretty impressive. So all that being said, looking at this team, I'm curious how many starters there are. This seems like a pretty shallow roster league. And if this is the same guy, said got an offer for Allen. I don't know if that's the same guy or not. But
Spencer was one of our first reviews.
Okay. All right, we can go back and touch on that. But all of that being said, he did say that. So we're looking at Hampton, Henderson, or Tet McMillan at 2, and then potentially at 11 and 13 in a 10-team league. We've talked about this quite a bit too on that like 201, 202 range. We're looking at guys like maybe Scattaboo, could be Colston Loveland, could be trying to think of who else. Matthew Golden, Dylan Sampson. Those are the kind of names we're probably looking at in that range. He also has a thing on the table, Jonathan Taylor in 13 for picks 6, 7, and 18 potentially as well. So
side note, thing on the table sounds like a team name in this league.
That definitely does sound like a team name in this league, thing on the table. All right. So where is he at in contender mode, Pete?
Let me look.
All right, not much better. All right, go back to Dynasty. So this is definitely not a team that is in contention at the moment. Obviously, a Tet McMillan, Omarion Hampton, and Travion Henderson helps, but I don't think he helps enough because yes, you have 3 good running backs then at that point, but the wide receiver core, there's just no difference makers at the wide receiver position, and especially in only a 10-man league. That's tough. That's really tough. So I don't hate the idea of trading a Jonathan Taylor. And in fact, I would also maybe be looking to condense some of these meh wide receivers into a good receiver. Because in these shallower leagues, we've talked about it before, the superstars really make a bigger difference in 8 to 10 man leagues. You want a little more depth in 12, and you need quite a bit of depth in those 14 teamers. So the superstars make the bigger difference in the smaller the league or the smaller the starting lineup size. So for me here, I would consider that deal, the Jonathan Taylor and pick 13 for 6, 7, and 18. However, here's my potential issue with this in a 1 QB league. We're more than likely, Pete, do you want to actually, why don't you pull out the mock draft tool here?
Okay. You know,
I don't think their league
they
has
don't.
their draft picks set yet.
Should we just look at?
We could just do we can do one on our own, right?
This is fine.
Yeah, let's just look at the one we just did.
Okay. So this was a 1 QB one. By 6, you're happy if Quinshon Judkins is there. I have a feeling Judkins could be going over Emeka Egbuka. So
probably,
if that's the case, you're really kind of now looking at a new tier of running backs. And so the hard part for me is giving up a Jonathan Taylor, even though I like getting 2 first. I like getting 6 and 7. I'm also downgrading my second from 13, which is in a range where there's some good players, into 18, which is very, very hit and miss now. So for me, while I like the concept of the trade, I don't know that I like the actual trade itself. What do you think, Taylor?
I think you're right when you're pointing out that in a 1 quarterback, the best pick, can you just scroll up real quick there, Pete? The best pick you're looking at 7 would be Quinshon Judkins, and you're hopefully taking him at 6 if he doesn't go earlier. So realistically, I think if you get 6 and 7, the best players on the board for you are unlikely to be the running backs. I think what you could do is take this trade and swap the 107 and the 18 for the 105 or the 104 and see if you can move up. I don't usually like to make trades knowing I have to make more trades, but if this is the best thing on the table for you, I would really be trying to get into the top 5 is kind of the bottom line here. So if you're trying to get rid of Taylor, if you can get another deal in the top 5, I don't know, you only have so many options, but 7 to me isn't
super appealing
as it would sound.
And I'll say this too. If I can do without the 18-13 swap, if I can do without that, then I feel a lot better about this. So if it's just Jonathan Taylor for 6 and 7, or if I can just say, hey, I'm not giving you 13, and he's like, fine, you can take 13 out, then, you also get 18 in the deal. Cool. Like, that's awesome. But I feel like 13 is going to be critical in your ability to be able to move up into the top 5, because I don't know that 18 is enough leverage to get you to move up.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just add something instead of 13. Keep that leverage. So Jonathan Taylor and I don't know what, QJ for 6, 7, and 18. Like, just see whatever that equivalent of a mid-second is for them, and then give them that instead.
Yep. I think that's the route that I would look to go. Now we do have so I like that for this team. I think that puts them in a better spot. However, are we considering the possibility that even with, let's say we can end up with Quinshon and Luther Burden. Let's say that's who we end up with, or something like that. Do we still think that's enough for us to really compete? Because right now, Quinshon and Derrick Henry probably aren't getting it done. So I'm probably also saying I'm not in a rebuild, but I do think I'm a year away. So I'm probably moving on from Derrick Henry as well. And, then maybe consolidating some wide receiver assets into, maybe a little bit of an upgrade or something like that. Because I don't realistically see this without Jonathan Taylor on this roster. I don't see how this team is going to compete. So I think that makes owning Derrick Henry kind of a moot point.
So he does have 2 as well. So he's either adding Tet or Hampton.
True, that's
Henderson.
correct.
So one thing that,
but I still don't think that player's putting up
Hawkinson,
Jonathan Taylor numbers more than likely in year 1.
Right. I was gonna say he has Hawkinson, so it's not that he couldn't use Loveland or Warren in the later first. It's that you don't necessarily want to invest your draft capital there when you have these other holes. So I'm with you. You're not competing in the top 3 teams this year. Something needs to go your way to actually like have a chance once you get to the playoffs, in my view. Jaden Reed's got to come out and be a low-end wide receiver 1 all year or something. I think we got to boost up that wide receiver room, Garrett. So I'm leaning to going Tet at 102, depending on landing spot and everything, because if you keep Jonathan Taylor, you don't have a whole lot of draft capital. You just have the 2, and then you've got 11. So, I mean, I think I like the deal, but like we were saying, it's got to be adjusted.
The other deal I'm looking to make is on top of the Derrick Henry is I'm waiting for the second the Cooper Kupp news breaks on where he's going, and then I'm putting him on the trade block and actively trading him. Because as somebody mentioned earlier, if he goes to Dallas, that's really appealing for a contender. Like really appealing for a contender. If he, depending on where the landing spot is, but I also want to get that trade done before the draft, because whatever team he goes on, that is not going to preclude them from drafting another receiver as well. So then he could have a perceived value dip. So I am trying to trade him the second the free agent news drops. So I am probably actively trading both Derrick Henry and Cooper Kupp.
Quick question. So Justin did an amazing trade because I realized he said 2027 first. So he has 3.
Oh, he got 2 of them
first. Yeah. So
he got a first for each Stevenson and Robinson.
Does that change your approach at all? Because those 27 firsts are a little bit undervalued right now. But in 1 to 2 years, that value is going to go way up, and you don't want to peak at the wrong time.
Well, the good news is
we don't have any.
If he makes these moves, let's say he gets Tet or Hampton on his roster, he adds Quinshawn and Luther Burden. If he's adding those pieces, he also somehow finagles, especially if you can package Kupp and Henry together, get yourself an additional first in the future. Like all of a sudden you're looking pretty good. Yeah. And so you might even be able to take those 27 picks next year if you're in the spot where you're like, hey, these running backs I got hit, the receivers are developing, Josh Allen's still a stud. Like now I could potentially take those assets and I could turn them into players, because people are already salivating over 27 picks with Jeremiah Smith being in that draft. So if you're able to capitalize on some of those kinds of things, I think you're going to put yourself in the best spot, because I don't think 25s are a year, but with the right moves, 26 could be.
Yeah, he's doing a great job building this team.
I just want to add one thing here as an observation of this league. So if he's getting a 27 first for Ramondre and a 27 first for Brian Robinson, and someone's offering him a 6, a 7 plus for Jonathan Taylor, this league really values running backs. Like these guys care about running backs. Something's going on where this isn't what they're going for in a lot of my leagues. Like especially all these deals would be too high. Yeah, for running backs, it's just that I wouldn't see those in some of mine. So I think getting yourself out of Taylor, getting 6 and 7, and then making sure that you get moved up to get Judkins or whoever that running back 3 or 4 on your rankings, or whoever you trust is, Garrett's probably. I would be excited to trade in Jonathan Taylor to get a young running back and something in a league like this, because I know that whereas a quarterback for you and I, Garrett, holds value, it sure seems like running backs for these guys are worth a premium. So if I can get Judkins now for Jonathan Taylor and get more, I feel like that might just be kind of like flipping him as far as like what you're going to get for value in the next couple of years.
Side note, Justin said that they were different packages, but I have one question for you. If you are this team, what are you doing with Tank Dell?
You're holding him.
And do you
That's all you're doing.
If you have Tank Dell on any dynasty roster, is there hope, or are you just
at this point you hold him and you cross your fingers that he's ever worth anything again? Because right now you're selling him for absolutely nothing.
Early third.
I mean, if somebody were willing to give you that, I'd probably take it at this point.
Okay.
But at this point, I don't think anybody's actively trying to get him. So chances are you're just going to have to hold and hope he regains value somewhere.
Okay. It's funny. Jared was trying to sell me on him recently.
I'm sure he was.
Any other thoughts about this review?
No, let's get our final roster review of our first ever roster show.
Hate to break it to you.
Oh,
yeah.
Spencer.
Can you read the?
Oh, fine. All right. Spencer says Josh Allen, Tyreek, Chris Godwin, and Kamara. Get Herbert, Ladd, 104, and a late 26 first. This looks absolutely like a rebuild for a contender type of move. Can you put that back up there again for us?
Oh, did it go off?
Whoops. Yeah, I did. All good, homie. There we go. All right. Josh Allen, Tyreek, Chris Godwin, Kamara for Ladd, 104, Herbert, and a 26 late first. So right now, Josh Allen, you're basically probably Herbert and 104. Probably gets you right around Josh Allen. Maybe a tad to the Allen side, but it's close. So then it comes down to Ladd. So you would probably take Tyreek and Godwin, and you still might not even get Ladd McConkey, to be honest. And then Kamara for a late 26 first. So overall, I think I would probably do the get side. I think I would probably do Herbert, Ladd, 104, and a late 26 first. It's close. It's always tough giving up the best player in the deal in Josh Allen. But I think this is a really good opportunity to get out from some older assets before they turn into pumpkins. So I like the move.
Awesome. Also, Justin says that those 2027 firsts are from the bottom two teams. So that's pretty slick.
Nothing like being a bottom tier team and trading for Brian Robinson and Ramondre Stevenson.
How else are you going to get out of the bottom? I mean,
we gotta climb up to 8th, baby.
Yeah. Get kicked out of the league like ours.
Maybe that's
okay.
All right, last but certainly not least, Marc. Marc Cruz has been with us for most of the show, and he gets to finish off our first ever roster review show. 10-team, half PPR, 10-point bonus for 200 plus rushing, and passing, 10-point bonus for 400-yard plus passing. He says, league name, show us your TDs, half-point PPR, 10-point bonus, all the bonuses I just mentioned. Sold a lot last season and secured the 101. Lost 2 years ago in the semis, and it's been downhill since. Have some young, okay talent, but no true elites. Looking for just an honest review and what you guys would do if you had this team. So looking at this team right now, it is the second to worst team dynasty value-wise. What about contender-wise? Contender-wise, it is the worst. So definitely not competing this year. But let's go back to our dynasty view. Right now, we have Kyler Murray and we have Drake May as our starting quarterbacks, Geno Smith as our third guy. I don't even feel like I should say any of the names of the running backs. There are no running backs. At wide receiver, we have T. Higgins, Khalil Shakir, Cedric Tillman, Adonai Mitchell. At tight end, Pete, could you scroll for me?
Yes.
At tight end, we have Tucker Kraft, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. We have the 101, 107, 109, 201, and 207 this year. Taylor, take us away.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Mark. This is rough. It's not what you want it to look like when you pull up our Dynasty app. You want it to have a little bit of a more green to it. But, the first thing here, it's a 1 QB. So Drake May, Kyler Murray, you're behind the 8 ball. You're not going to get many 400-plus passing games out of those guys. But I don't necessarily think I'm making any moves with my quarterback spot. If someone wants to give me something for one of those guys, I don't know what you could get for them. I'm happy to move one, but given where you're at and how many, it's going to take you at least a full year to be competitive. I'm not looking to change my quarterback room. Running backs got to get something. Let's look at the wide receivers there, Peter. Can you just get us the whole? There we go. So we've got Higgins, Shakir, Tillman, questionably, and Christian Kirk, who has a bump as a free agency. Everyone else on this team has probably no trade value right now. And Tillman and Kirk are low trade value. So I don't want to build around T. Higgins. I'd be happy to move him again for something if I can get something. Khalil Shakir, he's not a difference maker in any way, shape, or form on your team. So what can I get for him? Anything you can do to split one asset for 2 or 3 assets. So can I get Higgins for a 26 first and a 25 early second? Can I get it's not, you don't have a whole lot of assets to be doing moves with, but you understand that there are moves to be made. So I think that this is definitely another roster where you've got to be the proactive manager. You've got to look at other people's teams and identify where they're weakest and see what you can do. So our tight ends are pretty good, right, Pete?
Andrews and Kraft.
If I remember. Yeah, so who needs tight ends around here?
Okay, we got
I don't know. Jonnu and Kelsey, they probably feel okay.
Let's just look at, because we want to be targeting higher end. Let's move to contender mode. Right? And then 8 Kincaid and then Disley.
This person could use Tucker Kraft, or maybe they're interested in getting both the Baltimore tight ends.
What about a higher end team?
Then
that might actually be wanting to acquire an older tight end.
Njoku and then Cole Kmet. Dynasty Nerds legend.
Who's 6? What does 6 have?
It's half point PPR.
Kyle Pitts.
They could want somebody.
What do you mean? He's going to be the next Travis Kelce.
The only thing is, we're looking, what do you want to get for this team? What are you happy to add to it to feel good about it? Is it only draft picks? Are there any players that you're willing? I'm talking about Marc's team. What are we adding to Marc's team that's valuable to us at this point?
At this point, you're probably trying to add, I would say, maybe a Jaden Reed.
What about a Jalen McMillan? His value has been repressed because Godwin's back.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get him as a throw-in on the deal, sure. But he's not necessarily somebody I'm targeting.
Okay.
I think Jaden Reed's the only person here. Maybe you could try to get a Marvin Harrison. I doubt you're able to. But you could try. But here's what I'm doing. Yes, I'm definitely shopping my tight ends. Yes, I'm definitely shopping T. Higgins. I'm definitely shopping my quarterback and Kyler Murray. If there's a team that needs a quarterback, I'm doing all of that. But this is one of those scenarios where I have the 101 and Ashton Genty does not help me right now. That's your biggest asset that you can move because everybody wants him. If you're a contender, you want him. If you're in rebuild, you want him. Like, he's a player that everybody wants. You could easily take that pick and turn it into 102 in a first next year. I know it because I've seen multiple people, including myself, do that in leagues. Rich has done that in leagues. Like, you can literally just move back one spot and gain a first. Not hard to do. So I think that's your biggest asset that you're moving is, what can I do with Ashton Genty? And I think everything else then spirals around that. Yes, Kyler. Yes, Higgins. Yes, Kraft and Andrews. All of that true. But that's the straw that stirs the drink.
I'm just confirming he does have the 101.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
There it is. Okay.
In contender mode, picks don't.
We're
There's no
back.
Contender.
Okay. I'm curious though. Yeah, who would you be trying to trade back to in this league?
I mean, if I can pick up 102, 103, like that's I don't necessarily want to like trade way far back, but if somebody that has the 102, 103 wants to trade back, that's probably what I'm looking to do.
What's teams?
Okay, so 3.
The real choke artist.
Yeah. So 102 and yeah, just kind of start with the 102 and the 26 first.
I would even throw more on there and see if I could get more. Like
okay.
I'm seeing what he's valued at right now. Sometimes you can even start bidding wars. I love trying to do that, and like I'll literally auction off a player or a pick where I'll say like I'm trading this asset at this deadline no matter what. So start sending your offers, and then I make like a leaderboard of like this guy's in first, this guy's in second, this guy's in third. Oh, we got a new offer. He's in second place, blah, blah, blah. Like sometimes you can do that to mix things up, but like I'm creating buzz around Ashton Genty however I can.
What's the least you would trade back for in this scenario?
Probably 103 and first next year.
Okay. What about 102 and a 2027 first? Would you do that?
It's hard because I like the 27 class more, but so much can change by then. And will that pick be late instead of early now?
The thing about Ashton Genty is there's only one person who can roster him, and everyone wants to have the 101 pick. It's just like an ingrained thing in us. We're just like, oh man, I want to make that pick. So you have all the leverage. So it's a matter of who wants him, and then you can't name your price completely, but
you're not far off.
If someone's saying I'll give you the 102 and a 27 first, I'd say no. The 102, the 202, and the 27 first is minimum. And then they're gonna say, well, fine, I don't care. I don't know who 202 is. That's just a number on a screen. Like you can have that too. So it's like if you've got the leverage in a trade, it's up to you to make sure you maximize it. And Genty's one of those where if you're going to be out shopping him, like Garrett's saying, you're not taking your first offer. No. You got to make sure that you're getting everything you can for him because you gave up a whole season for that one player. And you got to make sure that if you're getting something back for him, that you're getting a guaranteed something for him. So I'm with you. You got to sell the 101. You probably make the 107 and 109 unless you can get an early second and a future first, something like that done. You're looking to pick up as many future firsts as you can, but this isn't the type of team where I want to get 6 third-round picks and just take swings at it. Like this team is a long ways away. They need to consolidate and make sure they have some good starters so that next year they're not truly competing and they can get a good draft pick again, but actually start building this team up. It's right now it's I don't want to say it's in shambles, but if it was ever hit by a nuke, this is the kind of roster that was in the way.
So this will be a speed round, okay? But I want you guys to give me the minimum draft pick value that you will receive. You will take for each of these players. Okay? Does that sound good?
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Mark Andrews.
201.
I'm taking more like the 20. Oh, this is a 1 QB? Yeah,
okay.
201.
Kraft.
Similar.
Still at the 201.
Adonai Michel.
Oh.
Are you trying like would you trade him away or are you just keeping him?
I don't know if you're going to get anything for him. Like, what are you going to get a third and then you're going to use that third to take someone else? Like, I don't know if you got much of a market there for him. If I would be trying to package him. If someone came to me and said, hey, what's the cost for Mitchell? I'd say, well, Mitchell and Shakir is a blank.
What about Khalil Shakir?
Probably also around that 201 mark.
Okay.
If whoever has the 201 can buy anyone on my team.
Are you trying to trade away Kyler Murray?
Absolutely. If somebody wants him, sure. It's just really hard to trade a quarterback in a 1 QB league.
And it's 10 team too.
I would trade Kyler for a 27 first.
I would trade him for a 26 second.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, why? Why not?
I don't know. The hit rate's not great. And what are you going to do?
You can literally draft Cam Ward in the second this year. It's a 10-man league, one quarterback.
True. It's true. You could just re-roll it into another quarterback.
Okay, any other thoughts?
I think that's it. I think that wraps
Good
up
luck.
the first show, right, Pete?
I think so.
Guys, this was a true joy. I had a blast hanging out with you guys, looking at all of these rosters, talking about all these guys. We've been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes of this show. If you're part of the Nerd Herd, we did 15 minutes before that. So we're on like 2.5 hours straight, just talking Dynasty fantasy football, looking at rosters. It's a true joy. I had a blast with both of you guys as well. Taylor, thank you for being on the show. Anything you want to let the good folks know before we get out of here?
Just go over to our website. Obviously, I'm the editor over there, so we've got a lot of great articles going out. We're starting our rookie profiles now, so if anyone wants to read about what our staff thinks about a lot of these rookie players coming out every Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have big releases for those, and you can always follow me at My Sleepers.
Pete, you did a fantastic job running the show, my guy. Anything you wanna let the good people know?
Only when you have teams that are very, like when they're not that glamorous, you don't have Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs and all that stuff. Don't get discouraged. Remember that is when you have the most fun. When you're wheeling and dealing, just getting stuff done, getting value at every inch you can. And that's Dynasty, baby. So keep it going and keep hopes up. Keep sending those trade offers, even if they make fun of you. Even if they put you on mute.
Put Cruz's comment up. He said, thanks, guys. Appreciate the review. I'll see you never because you murdered me. That's fantastic. Thank you, Cruz. Hey, you said be honest. You said be
honest.
What's our favorite comedy?
Ooh.
Oh,
yes. Go ahead, Pete. What's yours?
Probably Come Back to Me.
Okay. Taylor.
I'm not. My answer is Knocked Up, but that's where I'm going to leave it. That's to me, that's the funniest comedy.
I did not see that coming. For me, it is Hot Rod. Hot Rod is my favorite comedy. Love that movie.
I'm saying Napoleon Dynamite. That's Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre.
That comedy, not an autobiography there, Pete.
All right, guys. Well, for myself, for Taylor, for Pete, for everyone at Dynasty Nerds, thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you.
Wait. Do we have a next show? When's our next show?
We don't know yet. That's why I was trying to get away.
I thought it was Monday.
Monday? Is it?
I thought so.
Stay tuned. There, we will be doing this weekly. We're still
Very
working out the
weekly.
kinks.
No,
We're doing it weekly. We don't know all the details yet, but we love you.